look at them greys. Silver fox. I ironed literally every single one of those grey hairs, and they may have all been just from the last 4 weeks. Alright, so a couple of them were definitely 2020, and some of them were the breakdown from last year. The rest of them, oh, they're new, and they're all here to stay. It's Leanne, and I am here today for a slightly different video than usual. It's been a while since we just had a sit down chat and a mental health update, so that's what this video is going to be. To practice some self-care and to decompress. Because as the title of this video suggests, I have had a kind of rough time. Not gonna lie, it's not been great, and neither has the old noggin. But as I say every time we sit down for one of these honest chats, we are here on this channel to talk about the good stuff and also the bad stuff. As a mental health advocate, I believe that it's really, really important that we talk about the valleys as well as the peaks in our mental health, because it normalises the discussion. The more we talk about the times that we are not okay, the more normal it will be to talk about the times that we are not okay. And talking out loud about stuff like this helps us to process, and it helps us to feel less alone. Things around here have been very up and down, and if you follow me here on Instagram, then you probably already know most of this story, because I find Instagram to be a really accessible platform. My particular corner of it is very lovely, very supportive. It's filled with booktubers and bookstagrammers and small business people who are all very supportive of each other. It's a much more immediate platform than YouTube, and so quite a lot of my life updates often make it over there and to my patrons on Patreon, and then they never actually make it into a full sit down video. Last time we sat down and had an honest chat, I told you guys that for most of the previous 6 to 8 months I had been in the grips of a pretty bad mental health crisis. In fact, I think it was fair to say that it was the worst breakdown that I had in years, and I have had some particularly bad valleys in my mental health experience. But since that video, I have taken some of my own advice for a change. I was very gentle with myself. I gave myself a lot of time and space to kind of crawl back out of that, and I feel like my videos here on this channel have kind of reflected that. They've started to pick up pace again. They're very much my style again, and for the first time in a long time I feel like I was getting to emotionally even. You know, a place where it's not either go go go, achieve achieve achieve, or I am a terrible person who has achieved nothing. I also talked in that video about the process of working towards an ADHD diagnosis and what this like new label suddenly meant in my life. At the time I was still really struggling to process it. I did not know what it was going to mean for me, either medication or lifestyle wise, in the future. But it turns out that since then, knowing that a lot of the issues that I've suffered from my entire life have been down to ADHD, have been down to the fact that my brain does not work in the same way as other people's brains do, has been incredibly freeing. And so with that also, I really felt like I was on a good track. I was climbing the hill, and then everything around me kind of fell apart. While I like to do fun, like eye-catching titles on YouTube, unfortunately the title of this video is not just fun or eye-catching, it is literally the truth. In the space of about 4 weeks, my life entirely fell apart. So bear with me here, because this one starts as a slightly mundane story. So lovely spouse Harry and I have lived in this house for about 7 years now, and many things have happened since we have been here that I have documented on this channel. We had a house fire about 6 months after we moved in, which destroyed a lot of stuff. And we had to basically start from scratch. And then a couple of years later, our kitchen ceiling collapsed because of a flood. It turned out that that was caused due to the previous owner, who was himself a landlord. Are we surprised? I think not. Bodging the plumbing in the bathroom rather than getting anybody in to actually help him with it. What's that aroma? Oh, it's Tories and capitalism. Anyway, long story short, as a result of the kitchen ceiling falling in, we discovered that all of the plumbing in the bathroom, all of the plumbing had to be redone, and a large portion of our floor had to be ripped out and started again. So our insurance paid for us to have a new bathroom, and that was amazing, and it was great for several years until very recently, in the last 6 months or so, the floor in the bathroom started to get spongy. Now, because lovely spouse Harry is an absolute DIY legend, we originally tried to fix the floor ourselves. First it was just cracked grout, which we replaced, then some of the tiles needed shoring up, which we did, and then finally we realised that the floor itself was actually spongy, and we didn't know how actually structurally sound the floor underneath the tiles were. And so off we went. We got somebody to come in and to price our new flooring up, and we saved. We saved tooth and nail to be able to afford to get it done, and also the hallway outside of it, because the floorboards went that way and ran into the hall, and if we were replacing them it made sense to just replace everything in the upstairs landing area. But nothing in my life apparently ever goes smooth. Realistically, this is not just my life, this is home ownership. This is what happens when you own a property. The only bonus, the literal only bonus of renting is that if anything breaks, you don't have to fix it yourself. Although it's only a bonus if your landlord actually fixes it properly, which as we can see is not always the case. So after a lot of delays, the fitters and plumbers came in to start working on ripping out and relaying our floor. To do this, they had to remove our toilet and to isolate our bathroom sink so that when these fixtures were taken away, water did not just go everywhere. Unfortunately, they were unable to do this and could not work out why. We then got a specialist set of plumbers in who found the problem pretty quickly. If you have a sensitive stomach, I would avoid this next minute or so of the explanation. What the plumbers found was that instead of getting our water fed from the main supply as the previous plumbers had told us when they refitted our bathroom, we were instead getting our upstairs water supply, so the toilet water, the shower water, bath water, the tap water that we used to brush our teeth, from a cold water storage tank in our loft space. It had A, apparently never had a lid on it, ever, and it was B, absolutely filthy. It was completely choked with wood, with loft insulation, with dirt and debris, with pieces of plastic, and with floating bugs. And I'm sure there were other things in there, but I'm not gonna lie, that's as much as my brain can take in of the photographs that he took for us. The rest of the details I handed on to lovely spouse Harry, because at this point my brain was spontaneously combusting. Because we have been living with that tank since we moved into this house. So for the entire 7 years we have been using this tank. It is impossible to know for how long that tank has been in that condition. We have had several things done to our roof since we have moved into this house, and debris could have got into that tank at any point. But it is possible that we have been using that contaminated water in that tank for 7 years to wash ourselves, to bathe in, to brush our teeth, to flush our toilet with, and also to fill our animal bowls for the upstairs with. And I think that was the point where my brain just shut off. My brain just went, no more, cannot handle this, no thank you. The health implications of using the water from that tank are unknown to us right now. We have of course had samples of the water taken, and we are waiting for the processing of that, and we have of course scheduled medical appointments for ourselves with our various consultants to try and work out if there's any tests that need to be done just to be on the safe side. Our animals have also gone through various health MOTs, and everything so far has been fine. But that unfortunately brings me to the other piece of really sad news that I have to share with you guys. So during the now extended works to once again replace all of the plumbing into our bathroom, we noticed that our lovely Miss Marple was not quite herself. I had in fact been keeping a particularly close eye on Marple for the 2 weeks or so prior to this incident, because there was just something in my spidey sense tingling and telling me that something was up. After the first week of really closely observing her, which is really all you can do when you've just got a hunch but there's no actual symptoms, I finally was like, nah, I'm just going to make her a vet appointment and I'm just going to be absolutely sure. So when she went in for her appointment, she was absolutely fine. There were no observable symptoms on her whatsoever to say that there was anything wrong with her, but they did take take a blood test because we were worried, and they sent them off to the lab. A couple of days later we got the results back to tell us that her pancreas and her kidney levels were really out of whack and that they needed to do further tests. We took her back in, she got another blood sample, it was sent off to a specialist lab. It was only a couple of days later that we could see that she was really struggling, and we rushed her in to the emergency vet. To him, again, she looked visually perfectly fine, except that she was clearly now very dehydrated in a very short space of time. And for a cat who would wake you up at midnight for you to turn on the tap so that she could drink from it, that was a very strange thing for her. The next morning, despite copious fluids and painkillers, she wasn't doing any better than she had been the previous day, and the blood test results revealed that she was in severe renal failure. I have had cats for my entire life, and I had never heard of renal failure before, but it is apparently devastatingly common. In fact, since I posted about this on Instagram, I have had so many of you guys who are vets or vet techs or vet nurses reach out to me to say that the statistics are something like 50% of all cats who are seriously ill and are admitted to like veterinary hospitals are in renal failure, which is just absolutely staggering to me, and I count myself incredibly lucky that we've never had to go through this with any of our cats before. As any of you guys who have been around my channel for more than 5 minutes know, we do have a lot of fur babies in our house, but over the last 2 years we have lost 2 cats, both at only 8 years old. And so the thought at the time of losing Marple, who was only 5, was absolutely devastating. But it became very clear very quickly that there was nothing else that we could do for her. There was literally no coming back from how poor her condition was at that point. I've been lucky enough to have a lot of experience in my life with a lot of different animals, and I have never known animals to hide things so well as cats. So unfortunately we had to make the decision to let her go. It really was the best, only, kindest thing for her. But the two things happening together just... The vet has since reassured me, of course, that as none of our other cats have any symptoms and all of their tests are coming back fine, that it is very unlikely that anything in the water contributed at all to anything that Marple went through. But that guilt is still there in the back of my brain. And not only was the entire thing completely devastating, but it left us in such an awful financial hole. And so for that I have to thank you guys so incredibly much, because those of you who do follow on Instagram and Patreon were aware that this was going on at the time that it was happening, and I really didn't have the capacity to kind of update anywhere else. And you guys were so generous donating it to my coffee account and joining Patreon for the month so that you could show some support, and you were able to help us to restore our house to having clean working water upstairs. We still of course are in a bit of a hole because of all of this, but at least we have safe water in our house for ourselves and our animals. I said I wasn't going to cry on camera today. Reader, she lied. So yeah, that answers all of your questions about why I was at Jeans. A lot of you particularly enjoyed my puns about body odour, but I was only half joking because I was gross by the time that I went to Jeans to use the shower. I'd done a lot of physical labour by that point. I had been to the vet several times and I had cried a whole lot, and that was disgusting. Ooh, this video is going to be so much fun to edit. And of course, because of all of this, I was behind on videos for you guys, and I haven't been sprinting on Patreon as much as usual, and I haven't been as accessible on my social media as I usually am, and I'm so sorry for all of that. I feel like I'm now finally getting on my feet again. As you saw, there was no TBR video for May. I decided to mood read May, and I'll talk about what I'm reading in just a minute, because I think it would be nice if we finish off this video talking about some fun books that I'm excited for. But for right now, I just want to say I'm proud of myself. I don't usually own that. The people in my life who know me really well will tell you that I pretty consistently I'm always like, well, I could have done better. That was great, but I could have done this. Well, I turned that in on time, but I could have had it in quicker and then I would have had time to do this. I haven't produced enough, I haven't replied enough, I haven't done something. I always leave myself in the place where I'm like, well, I am praising myself, but I'm also being realistic in my deficiencies. Brains are sneaky, you guys, because instead of actually praising myself in any way, that was the complete opposite. Instead of allowing myself to have any kind of win in my life, I always qualify it with something else. It could always have been better, quicker, more thorough, and I am trying my hardest to learn to get out of that really destructive habit. Because all of us who suffer from mental health issues, particularly depression and anxiety, have that little voice. That little voice that just nips away in the back of your head and tells you that actually you are never going to be enough. Nothing that you ever do will ever be enough. So I am taking this moment of good grace to allow myself to be proud of myself, because even 6 months ago I would have crumpled and become a complete non-person in the face of all of this, and I didn't. I'm still here, I'm still functioning, I'm still sitting down and telling you about my experience because I hope that some of it is helpful for you. That although 6 weeks ago I was in the very lowest low, the very worst place that I had been in a long time, here I am just weeks later and it is brighter on the other side and there are things to look forward to and not everything is complete shit. I'm still going to have things to go through in the wake of this. There's life admin, there's money things, there's medical tests, there's more things with the animals that I need to deal with, but it's okay. It's now manageable. It's survivable, and I deeply believe that if we can have more of these moments out loud, more of these moments where we say I didn't think I would get through this but it was survivable, then more people will feel less alone. Yep, I'm aware that you're still here. So what are we doing now that things are starting to look a little bit more positive around here? Well, first of all, I need to share these pictures with you wherein I got to finally go outside and wear my sunflower dungarees on an actual sunny day. I got to do it in the land of my people, IKEA. Granted, we were only there to replace storage containers in our bathroom that got ruined during the renovation, but nevertheless. And honestly, getting out of the house and into a little bit of sunshine, which I traditionally despise but apparently really needed, just made me feel human again. Second piece of good news is that I am finally working on my own fabric for my Etsy shop, so that will be fabric that will be on my fabric bookmarks, and it will also be fabric that will be on book sleeves. They're finally coming, guys. Book sleeves are finally coming. I am so freaking excited. I cannot tell you. And again, I feel like I've talked about Instagram a lot in this video, but I usually run new products past people on Instagram polls, so I will put an either or over there, or I will put a question box in where you can ask for the types of patterns that you want. Do you want dark academia stuff? Do you want witchy stuff? Do you want cats? You can tell me all about it over there, and I'm going to be doing a lot of polls over the next couple of weeks, so if you would like to get your say in on a book sleeve, that is the place to go. I am planning to have a new collection of pretty much everything out by the summer. That's mugs, coasters, book sleeves, printed bookmarks, fabric bookmarks, stickers, stationery, you name it, we'll have a little bit of everything. And now let's talk about some books, right? It wouldn't be a real video on this channel if it didn't include at least some books. Obviously, with all of this going on, I've been struggling to read. I have finished so few things, picked up so many. The topic of mood reading really is a video for another day, y'all. But as I did allow myself to mood read me, here are a few of the things that I am working my way through. First of all, I woke up the other day at like 6 AM and my brain literally chose murder. I am reading The Night That She Disappeared by Lisa Jewell because of course I am. Lisa Jewell really has become such a favourite author for me, and in fact I have a video filmed that I filmed before everything went to absolute crap, which is my 10 auto-buy authors, and I will just give you the spoiler and say yes, she is on that list. That video will be coming very soon. The Night That She Disappeared is a thriller, and it's another split perspective, which I think Lisa Jewell just does so well. On the one hand, we have Kim. She is an extremely young grandmother who has been left to look after her young grandson Noah after her daughter Tallulah, who was doing everything that she could to be a good mother and go to college and be responsible, had one night out and completely disappeared. We follow Kim in the direct aftermath of Tallulah's disappearance, phoning her friends, checking the last places that she's been, calling cab companies, but she is unable to find so much as a single lead as to where Tallulah went when she left that party. Then we jump forward 2 years to Sophie, who is a thriller writer. I absolutely love it when thriller and crime writers include thriller and crime writers as their main characters. It's just a fun meta detail that really pleases my brain. Sophie has just left her life in inner London to follow her boyfriend to his new teaching post as a headmaster of a fairly large private college. They are a decently new relationship, but Sophie, like me, is very much in the camp of when you know you know, and so she's just kind of finding her feet in this new life when she goes out for her first walk. But as she leaves the cottage on that morning of her first walk, she sees a little scrap of paper thumbtacked to a fence that says, "Dig here." And the story goes from there. I have picked up quite a few books during this truly tumultuous experience, but I think I have read more pages in this book than all of them combined and in a shorter time. To say that I am enjoying this experience would be a vast understatement. I am also about to pick up We Were Liars by Lockhart for a reread because I, like everybody else, have just recently received my pre-order of Family of Liars. For those of you who maybe haven't been around on BookTube for a lot of years, you might have missed the absolute buzz about We Were Liars when it first came out. This is an absolutely beloved BookTube book. It is a YA thriller slash mystery. It's all about a group of extremely wealthy teenagers who have gone for their summer vacation to their family's private island. But instead of being lazy and luxurious, this summer is instead fateful. Because not everything on the island is as it seems, and not everything that you're hearing is 100% the truth. And it is impossible to tell you anything else about that book without completely ruining it. It is the tiniest little book. If anything about that description has made you think that you should pick it up, then you should. It will take you no time at all to race through it, and I guarantee that you will not regret it. Just think about all of the types of books and the tropes that I love the most and put them all in one very short little book, and you've pretty much got We Were Liars. And finally, I am about to pick up for my Patreon book club for May and June, which was a little bit late, but thankfully my patrons are the loveliest people and don't mind supporting me when things are extremely overwhelming, and so things are a little bit late. The Lying Game by Nicci French. So my patrons vote every other month for what genre they want to read from in the book club, and then I will suggest a bunch of titles that I'm either really excited for or are like backlist titles that have been on my shelves for a while. And they of course voted for the next standalone that I have by Nicci French. I am absolutely sure so that they could watch me hate read it. I have recently dipped my toe into Nicci French's backlist, and although I love their plots for the most part, I absolutely hate their characters with the burning passion of 1,000 Suns, and in fact I wanted to set Blue Monday, which is the first book in the Frida Klein series, on literal fire. But by the time that I tried Blue Monday on audiobook, I already owned The Lying Room and The Unheard, thinking that it was maybe just the characters in that first book, House of Corrections, that I didn't like. And so here we are. I did say I was going to read these two to see if my experience got any better. I doubt it, but my patrons want to watch me be salty, so this is what we're doing. And I'm not gonna lie, I am kind of really looking forward to picking it up. I always go into things with an open mind, even if I have hated an author's work previously. So I'm hoping that I like it, but my hopes aren't, you know, extremely high. So that's it, guys. Those are all of my updates. Thank you so much if you have stuck around to the end of this video. It just lifts me so much to know that you guys are so supportive about the mental health content on this channel. Knowing that we've created this little safe space in my chaos has always been one of my proudest things. And once again, no matter how you choose to show up and support me, whether that is Etsy and Patreon, or whether that is just liking and subscribing and engaging with my content. No matter how you show up for me, I so appreciate it. You guys have made this immense burden over these last 6 weeks just so much lighter to bear, and I cannot ever repay you for that. And on that note, I will see you guys in the next video super soon. Take care of yourselves. I love you. Bye. Hey, sleepy cat. Hi. Oh God, you're so sleepy and so judgy. How do you do both at the same time?